The Kabul River. Not so long ago, we saw women washing laundry and children flying kites here. Symbols of liberation. Now this riverbank is a new kind of symbol of Afghanistan's exploding heroin epidemic. Beneath the Shamdu Shamshira Mosque in the city centre, the ground is littered with thousands of syringes, a minefield of needles. I've got needles stuck in my boots. According to the United Nations today, Afghanistan supplies nearly 90% of the world's heroin. This is the local blowback. The producer has now become the consumer.
There was no any street user. We didn't have it before, but right now we have it. It's increasing, you know.
Dr. Sayeed Najibullah, a psychiatrist, was a member of the UN Office of Drugs and Crime. His team compiled the latest figures on drug use in Afghanistan. Their conclusions were sobering. Nearly 1 million users, including an estimated 40,000 heroin and opium addicts in Kabul alone, twice as many as 2 years ago.
It belongs to something like, although it's not a good matter to say, but it's like from liberty, from freedom, that the people have freedom.
Kabul, home to uncounted millions, used to be famed for its entrancing gardens. But after a quarter of a century of war, every trace of beauty has been shot out of it. In the old city, a feral population of addicts lives in the rubble. Here, for 50 cents, you can score enough heroin to stay high all day. Reza and Hussein are brothers. Like many of the city's heroin addicts, they picked up the habit in Iran.
گفتم چه گفتم ما خوشگلی داشتم مقبولی داشتم می رقم نبودم گفتم پدر چیزی که کور او میکنه.
As it happens, at the very moment we are here, US President George W. Bush is also in town, at the palace. We can hear his security helicopters roaring overhead. Beyond the capital Kabul, President Karzai's government and the coalition don't have much control. Wild West out here. Warlords turn drug lords and the resurgent Taliban. It's the American president's first visit. It will last 5 hours. This is the Afghanistan he doesn't see.
Yeah, being still record, DJ Bejo.
Hussein, the younger brother, is 21. We ask him why he started using heroin.
یک دوست دختر داشتم از همه وطندارای خودی ماست. واسه دخترم من خیلی دوست داشتم. یه مرا دوست داشت. ولی پدر مادر دخترم قبول میکرد. برادر دخترم اینجا کاری ما را خراب کرد. یک روز مرا برگشت گفت فلانی. گفت چی؟ اگه خوبی از من دیدی بدی دیدی مرا ببخش دیگه حلال کن. من اصلا باورم نمیشد که دیگه من خدافیزی همیشگی میکنم. حتما همین اعصابش از دست دادن یا میخواد کدام جایی برم. اما شد که دو روزی طول نکشید که اول شما خودکشی کردن. اعلامی هایش زدن. اعلامی که نفهمید مستر.
Like his brother, Rez's addiction wasn't just with heroin.
باز که یک دختر ایرانی من رفیق بودم و هم دختر خیلی سرمایدار بود، پولدار بود. که رفیق بودم باز که تنها در خانهشان که می رفتمی هروئین استفاده میکرد، استعمال میکرد. ما دیگه میگفتم چند کرد گفتم چی گفتم این کارا نکن، استفاده نکن. باز هم گفت خود ترک میدم این رقم و هم فقط گرمه استفاده میکرد. باز یک روز همه شله شد گفت چی؟ گفت ریزا بیا یک هروئین بزن. من گفتم هروئین نمیزنم. گفت یک دود بزن در یک دود مونه معتاد میشی نه چیزی گفت. یعنی اگر باعث تعذیق هم کشیدم یا که در یک متعذیق نکردم در اصل فاجعه ای گوام که است در خاطر اینمی دختر ما در این کار قلیدم. اونمو باعث شد که چی؟ اگر کدی و تعذیق هم نمیکردم باعث شد که اول هروئین یاد بگیرم بعد هروئین چی؟ اینمی تعذیق یاد بگیرم که زدم خود ما را در و در کرده.
So this is where you slept last night?
این اینجا خواه یا یکی اینجا یکی اینجا. موازید مواتق خلاص با خدا اگه 3 شبه که با خدا اگه 3 شب و 3 روزه اگه میگم یک ساعت چشما پوچ شده باشه یا در اینجا مثل خواه میشده. ده چی خاطر ده و ایرانه که سگ نمیه بشر انسان عظیمتش بالایه. انسان قدرش در کل دنیا انسان برکتش بالایه. ده چی خاطر ده اینجا به.
The brothers grew up in exile and are just 2 of the estimated 3.5 million refugees who have returned to Afghanistan in the last few years. They've come home to one of the poorest places on the planet. 2/3 are illiterate and with an average life expectancy of 42.
If you look at the drug addicts, many are coming from Pakistan and Iran. These are the people who really had a lot of problem because they were living in asylum.
Afghanistan's first ever Minister of Counter-Narcotics, Habibullah Qadiri, oversees the country's fledgling efforts to battle both drug production and consumption. In some respects, freedom worked all too well here, luring millions of refugees back to a country unable to support them.
You go into more poverty, into more problems, certainly you will have more drug addicts in this country. But if you have a better economy, when the condition of life is better off, certainly people will not go into drugs. Drugs in this country is not used like in the European and American countries as a recreation. here many times it's because of no education, because of the paid company, or sometimes because of depression and problems.
Because drug use is prohibited by Islam, addicts like Reza and Hussein are often outcasts, abandoned by their families, stigmatized. But with so many competing priorities for aid money, drug rehabilitation comes a poor last.